Morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, and it's 6 o'clock, and it's time to greet our two parents together. 천지엔 천부모님께 경배 바로 가정 맹세 영주, could you lead us, please?
1. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 본연 다른 찾아 본연의 창조 이상인 지산천국과 전산천국을 전근할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 중심, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과 헌정권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 하늘 부모님의 창조 이상인 천주 대가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 매일 주체적 천선세계와 대성적 지산세계의 통일을 향해 천진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 하늘 부모님과 전 부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천원을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심정문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 천일극주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 짐승하고 천일극 시대를 맞이하여 첫대 신앙, 첫대 사랑, 첫대 복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지선천국과 천선천국의 해방권과 석박권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Thank you, Youngju. I'd like to ask Mrs. Pulfus, could you pray for us, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, to parents, thank you for this day. We gather together here to listen to your word, listen to you, the true mother, the memoir. We are so appreciated and glad to have such a time. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, please purify our heart to listen to this word. I'm very thanks for this gathering to people who set up together their effort and devotion. I pray this through oh, so, Heavenly Father, and to heaven. Sorry. I pray this is through all the brothers and sisters' name. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your beautiful heart and your prayer. This morning, I communicated a little bit with Reverend Thompson yesterday. He was in Las Vegas, and I don't think he's not coming back till Tuesday, like almost a week. Oh my gosh. It was a long time. So anyway, let's pray for him. I don't know exactly what their schedule is or what the leadership is doing together with Reverend Dunkley, but I'm sure it will all be very good for us. Also, he asked again, as we've been doing already, reminding us about Mena Huang, who had an accident and is in the hospital. Please let us collectively keep praying for her support, and also Jun Wima, Shoko's son, who was injured in an accident, a bike accident in Thailand, and others we know of who are like Pastor Neville here in Bellingham. He's recovering from open heart surgery. It was all very successful, but he won't be able to be active again until into August. Pretty long recovery cycle, and others as well. And for all of us, we have to stay healthy and strong and active. Yeah. So with that, why don't we go into our breakout rooms and share our gratitudes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it was Bill Starr was explaining some ideological stuff to us, and he got cut off just as he said they're going to destroy everybody or something like that. But anyway, yeah. Okay, let's maybe have some reflections on our sharings for gratitude. The floor is open. Nice to see David and Mitzway Wolfenberger back. They must have been on a journey somewhere. They do journey a lot. Want to share about that?
Sure, yeah. We just got back yesterday afternoon. It took 24 hours to get back, actually. We missed a flight from Costa Rica. We were in Dominican Republic and Costa Rica for young adult workshops. It was just amazing. Dominican Republic, we had 40 young people there, and then the adults came too for adult programs. And at Costa Rica, we decided to make it an international workshop. So we had 50 young adults there from all over Mexico, Nicaragua, Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay.
Oh
It was
my gosh,
incredible.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It was very hot, and it's nice to be back in Westport where it's not going to it will stay in the 50s all week. I think it gets to the high of 61 at the end of the week. So it's kind of nice to be back here.
Yeah.
Oh, and I learned a new word too.
Is it a good word, David?
It's a good word, yeah. Bajando, it means going down. It was translated during our couples program. Yeah. And then in the elevator, as we were going out of Costa Rica, we were the elevator had the audio bajando, and it's each other. Nobody could figure out why we were laughing. But it was a lot of fun and really, really wonderful workshop.
That's great. Bajando. Okay. What I love about High Noon, you guys can go anywhere and you're so flexible. You know, you're like water. Wherever there's an opportunity, you fill it. And yeah, that's great. You know, that things change, you change with it. It's all good. Thanks, David. Mitzvah, I'm glad you're cooling off again.
Things, a lot of things change. Everything's changing in our movement, but the core never changes.
Yeah, yeah.
Core of the universe never changes.
Never changes. Thank you. Glad you're back safe. Okay. I don't see any hands raised. Please raise your hand. Share something. Otherwise, I'll share something. But all right, I'll share something. So I got this book here. What's this book? The Good Earth. I said last week that I was reading Mother's memoir, and she mentions The Good Earth. I thought, gosh, I've never read it. So I started reading it. And it's so good. It was written in 1931. First, I was reading about Pearl Buck, her background, her life. And reading Father's memoir in the early part when he talks about, you know, the simple life they had and being with the bugs and the bees and the trees and the eels. And then Mother's life as a refugee. And then this book, it starts out in China, so poor. These people are scrabbling, making a living from the thin earth. It's all kind of similar. It's really interesting. And it made me, so I'm thinking now, you know, when Mother was a young girl, maybe 12, 13, reading this, how did she think of it? You know, this story, this very same story she read. So it's given me a new avenue into True Mother's heart. And it's a good read too. So I recommend it. I got it $4 on eBay. So that's my book report. So let's hear from somebody. Some gratitudes out there, please. We have some time. Oh, there. Hi, Lawrence Mock. Very hi.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I was in a group with Yukiko Atsuka, and she was praising Otani, He's a famous baseball player for the Los Angeles Angels, and she said that he hit 2 home runs yesterday. And what was amazing was that sometimes, you know, the pitchers know that he's really so great that they'll just, you know, throw balls at him, you know, to walk him. So she told me that yesterday that even they threw a ball at him, he hit a home run off of, you know, not a strike ball, but an off pitch or so, you might say. So I was really thinking about that. What can we learn from something like that? And I'm sure that, you know, he wasn't born with such talent. I'm sure he had, you know, some great potential, but I think he really, you know, focused. You know, he was so passionate to focus on his, you know, that ability and to bring it to a higher level. And, you know, for me, my weakness is America's Got Talent. I just love these amateur people who just really have so much passion and really just focus on their skill, their artistic ability, or whatever talent they have, and even no talent, that's something that they do something off and they just discover something. But through that, you know, I understand that, you know, they have that passion, that really laser focus, and really a desire to really be the best. And, you know, I think that we need to do that, you know, that we need to have that, to be the best in our knowledge of the divine principle, in our in our ability to witness, and those things, to really, in order to really have a breakthrough in our witnessing, as well as to really change America around. So I'm just really inspired by, you know, the Otani, and also the people at America's Got Talent. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Lawrence. Got to hit some home runs. So, Justin.
Yeah, even coming on what Larry just said, I was thinking about how everyday activities can become different. And I was thinking about, I don't remember where I heard it yesterday, but that Mother is visiting different churches in Korea. And I was thinking, you know, think about your everyday life, and all of a sudden Mother shows up in your house and wants to comfort you and inspire you to go out witnessing. That would really be such a heavenly shock, wouldn't it? So, but I was really moved by hearing the fact that Mother is really taking the front line and going out and helping brothers and sisters to really wake up Korea. We've heard how many years true parents have suffered waiting for Korea to respond and work in the real providential manner it should be. And now she's really making it she's making it happen personally. So I was just really moved by that. Thank you.
That's great. Not so many people have that kind of skin touch opportunity with Mother, such as we had with Father, I think. So it's really nice. Youngju.
Yeah, good morning. I'm grateful this morning for my mom. I had a really good talk yesterday because I'm recently got blessed in May, and then Yuki and I finished our 40-day separation time period. So we've been preparing for the first night ceremony and prayer and everything. And I had some questions, and I thought, you know, I want to talk with my mom. And at first it was kind of awkward, not gonna lie. But I realized, you know what, my mom has 8 kids and she knows what she's doing. So it was a nice conversation and a new level in our relationship. So I felt grateful to have that conversation, and also just for guidance from the blessing department, and also High Noon Intimacy program that I'm a part of. I think it's been helpful for myself to feel more open, and also to feel support in this next stage of the blessing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Youngju, for sharing that. Yep. Your mother's the person you should talk to. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. Well, speaking of mothers, why don't we read from our mother? So if we could get that going.
Mother of Peace. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. A memoir by Hak Ja Han Moon. Chapter 4, God's light shines upon a path of thorns. Page 107, 112, day 24. In 1975, we held mission conferences in Japan, the United States, and Germany, from which we selected young missionaries and dispatched them to some 95 new nations, in addition to the more than 30 already with active missions. There were many reasons to delay or slow down our evangelical outreach, but we could feel God's urgency and pressed forward. I recall my husband's words, shared late one evening. There will always be reasons that we cannot send them, but if we do not send them now, we will never send them. There will never be a moment without difficulties. Let us make a firm decision when things seem the most difficult. That 1975 cohort of faithful men and women represented not one nation, but three: Japan, the United States, and Germany, countries that were enemies during the Second World War. We sent them in groups of three, one Japanese, one American, and one German or Austrian. Their unity with each other was the foundation for outreach and service that bore great fruit over the decades. Unlike many Christian missionaries sent out from the United States and Europe, our international missionaries did not receive continuous financial support from the sending church. They left with enough money to survive for a few weeks, a suitcase of clothes, and a divine principle book. Instead of living in nice buildings or homes, they stayed in tiny rooms or huts. They had to improvise mission plans and work together despite having different cultural backgrounds and speaking different languages. Faced with so many unknowns, those who were leaving and those who were sending both had to maintain a brave face, knowing each missionary was stepping into an unpredictable future. Our missionaries committed to a 5-year tenure, but more than a few who went to Africa and the Middle East remained for 20 years and more. Once or twice a year, if they could, they would attend a World Mission Conference at our East Garden facility in New York. One young missionary arriving at one such conference burst into tears upon seeing my husband and me. It was her first time meeting us. Hearts that wanted to weep in joy and sadness. How could there be anything but that? The person who wanted to weep the most was me, but I knew if I did so, the happy occasion would turn into an ocean of tears. Therefore, with the heart of a strong mother, I embraced that young woman instead. The next day, I took all the missionaries out and bought them blouses and scarves, or dress shirts and neckties. This looks good on you, I would say to each of them, adding, you have worked very hard. But together with my sincere consolation, I would ask them to be strong and press harder. If you sacrifice a little more on the way of the will, a peaceful world will come about in our time. Near the close of these conferences, the missionaries would pledge their new resolve in front of God's will and depart again to the front line of his dispensation. My heart of loving admiration for our leaders and tribal messiahs who have left their homeland for the sake of humanity remains unchanged to this day. Whenever we sent missionaries to unfamiliar lands, my husband and I held on to heaven and prayed earnestly for each one of them. In the 1970s and 1980s, the unification movement faced intense opposition the world over. An unknown party even sent a bomb threat to our church's Belvedere Training Center in Tarrytown, New York. But the opposition was particularly intense in communist bloc countries due to our public speeches, rallies, and educational programs to defeat Marxism-Leninism. We especially prayed for our missionaries who went into communist countries, as we knew there was the possibility of martyrdom. To our sorrow, that concern became a reality.
In these Iron Curtain countries, surveillance, deportation, shadowing, and terror were our missionaries' everyday experiences. In 1973, in Czechoslovakia, the police arrested most of the core members. Almost 30 young people received prison sentences of up to nearly 5 years. Others were released but endured ongoing repression. In 1976, in France, unidentified assailants bombed our Villa Oblet church in Paris, injuring 2 members. Our French members marched from the Eiffel Tower to the Trocadero, calling for religious liberty and winning the sympathy of many. Finally, when it was revealed that communists were involved in the bombing, prominent leaders, including U.S. congressional members, publicly condemned the attack on religion. Even worse tragedies occurred. In the flower of her youth, at the age of 24, Marie Zibna, one of the most faithful members in Czechoslovakia, died in a cold Bratislava jail cell in December 1980 in Tanzania. Japanese missionary Masaki Sasamoto was shot and killed, also giving his life as a martyr. Numerous missionaries in the United States and other countries lost their lives while on fundraising drives or in the course of outreach activities. Despite such tragedies, the missionaries continued their work. In the 1980s, European missionaries working strategically behind the Iron Curtain called their project Mission Butterfly. The butterfly missionaries cautiously witnessed, despite the constant danger of being tracked by the secret police and arrested, forced to leave the country, or worse. In 1987, my husband and I quietly gathered the butterfly missionaries at our East Garden residence. We listened to their moving stories late into the night. There was no stopping the flow of tears. The missionaries shared from deep within their hearts stories that they had not been unable to tell, even their parents or brothers and sisters. Hearing their stories, we felt deeply concerned about their harsh circumstances. Because these missionaries were viewed as enemies of the state, staying in their mission country was filled with risks. But this only intensified their prayers and faith in God. As one missionary said to us, "I don't know when or where I will run into some kind of danger. I only know that my life is being directly supervised through God's revelation. If there is a dangerous situation, God appears in my dream and guides me along the path I should go." As they departed to their posts, putting our short meeting behind, I hugged them one by one and sent them off, waving until they were out of sight. Thinking that these young, pure-hearted missionaries were acting out of their deepest passion for God and true parents, bound for lands more brutal than battlefields, without as much as a promise as to when we would meet again, my heart ached and my eyes blurred with tears. That our missionaries were persecuted for nothing other than faith in the true parents was truly a sorrowful reality of history, and their determination to advance was truly a glory of history. Chosen members went to every corner of the globe. Despite suffering and danger, they leapt into many kinds of work, organizing service projects, establishing schools, providing vocational training, cultivating the wilderness, building factories, houses, and communities, and raising the necessary funds by their own wits and heaven's assistance. Each time I saw missionaries off to cross unfamiliar seas and continents, the limitation of what I could give them pained me. I encouraged them by saying that when our dreams are realized, God will give us all the greatest blessings. Seeing how those words strengthened their resolve, I realized that spiritual encouragement was stronger support than any physical provisions. In the early stages of the movement, our members were the most pitiful of people. chased and cornered, thrown out of their houses on snowy nights, praying in tears against the outer walls of their own home. Deported from unfamiliar lands, jailed, shot at, and even killed while out fundraising, they had to find their way in the desert with nothing but starlight in the night sky to guide them. These faithful souls pushed their way through dark forests alone to share God's word. Holding our sorrows deep inside, we kept our faith and disseminated our beliefs. Today, the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification serves in more than 190 nations, and this activism for peace and true family life grew from the seeds of our missionaries' sacrificial love. Thank you.
No, that was a beautiful reading. Thank you, Youngju and Karen. All right, let's go into our breakouts and share what we learned. I was with Hankins and Mike Dickerson. And of course, I'm sure everybody had a deep stirring after that reading, thinking about the missionaries you know, the missionaries you were. I'd like to get a show of hands. Who on the screen here was one of the missionaries from 1975? Please raise your hand if you went out. Keep them up, please. Yeah. Wow. Both the Fleischman brothers on those. Wow. Congratulations. Thank you very much for having the faith to go out at that time. Wow. We are, yeah, definitely in the company of saints. Well, who'd like to share? I would like to hear, yeah, maybe from Gary and Justin and Monica, just a little bit where you went and why you went. So Gary, you're muted, yeah.
You know, I went to Mali in West Africa. From there, I went to the Congo. And then I ended up in the Philippines. And why did I go? I was in Berrytown at that time in the first 40-day training with Ken Sudo. And all of these 1,800 couples were coming back from Korea after they had been blessed. And they were talking about going overseas as missionaries. That was the first that I heard that the church was actually going to do that. And that inspired me, and I volunteered. I wrote a letter to Neil Salonen, and I said, if there are any countries left, please send me. So the only country left was the poorest country in the world at that time, which was Mali. But it was a great experience.
Wow. Thank you, Gary. Wow. Appreciate it. Justin.
Actually, my wife was the volunteer. She had before being a member, she had a feeling that she wanted to be a missionary in Africa. And actually she was in Senegal, and which is right next door to where Gary was in Mali. And she went out first and I joined her later. But so I didn't have a choice. but I was expressing in the breakout room that actually yes, from an objective point of view, the circumstances may have been difficult, but I didn't notice that it was difficult. I just went with a heart and faith, and I joined my wife, and who already made a very good foundation by the time I got there. But it was different. But if you go knowing that you're doing what God needs, then you don't complain, and you just make the best of it, and you somehow bring victory. But my mission mostly was fundraising while I was there. I was able to reach it's easier for a white person to get in to reach the big boss at a company. So it was more effective to get big donations. So I spent my time doing that. But the members were so accepting. And when we went back when Mother visited in 2018 rather, and they were just so happy to see us. And I just was so overwhelmed by the way they greeted us, and we're so happy that without knowing, we had established a foundation that eventually led to Mother being able to visit that country. We had no concept that was what was going to happen. When we were there, my wife was there a total of 17 years.
Wow.
But we really had no concept that this would be a country that Mother would take a personal involvement in. But the members were really so happy that she came. So you never know when the blessing comes. So just keep working and keep your eyes out open and keep your head up.
Wow.
That's all I can say.
Thank you, Justin. Oh, you guys, for that family has tremendous merit. How about Monica? Kill it. And then Eleanor de Wattville too.
Yeah, good morning. Actually, the German missionaries were really young in age. Some of us were like 1 year or even younger. And yeah, that's quite something, right? But anyway, we knew that the Japanese and the American missionaries, all of them were blessed in the 1,800 couples. So that was very much of a consolation that, wow, these guys, they're already blessed. And yeah. And but that time, you know, the Reverend Paul Werner, actually, he was, and his wife Crystal, they're really concerned, and they were really, you know, of course, praying hard for us because they knew it was such a leap of faith to send us out. Yeah, because we were so spiritually young, but at that time, the German movement wasn't that big. It was only like about maybe 120, 30 members. And we learned that afterwards that because 80 of us went to foreign mission, then some other members came from the European countries to fill up the gap. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I did go out to Mauritius for 3 months. I was kicked out. And after that, Jordan for 9 months, we all were kicked out. We had spies around our house for about a week. And then someone knocked on the door and said, you have to leave within 48 hours. And it was quite an interesting thing, you know, to, yeah. And then after that, I went to the Bahamas. Anyway, so not too long ago, the German missionaries decided to write a book, The Dawn of the New Era. And so 31 of us wrote our stories. So I wrote a little bit something. And the book comes in actually English and German as well. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And while Monica was a missionary, I was witness to by the German missionaries in Santa Ana, California. There was a satellite center. So just my spiritual parents are German missionaries.
Your destiny, Mike, your German destiny. Wow. How about, I heard that Eleanor too, Eleanor's not on, but is Charles on? Let's see, his picture, but I don't see him. Okay, maybe he's away. Oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Eleanor went out when she was quite young.
Uh-huh.
But, there she is. She can speak for herself.
Okay, Eleanor, tell us about it.
Yeah, Monica already mentioned that we were already young. We were almost all that were left in Germany. Germany had sent, Paul Werner had sent already hundreds of Germans to America at the time when we were sent out. So we were also young, 2 years. I think Monica was even just a few months in the church, or 18 years old. I was already 22, so I was the older one. But she was 18 or 19. That was just incredible. And yeah, I wanted to go to Vietnam at the time. I thought, oh, I'm gonna. Reverend Werner, he had these folders with names of countries. He said, who wants to go to Andorra? Who wants to go to, you know, he showed. And so I waited and waited until it is V for Vietnam. And then Tonga came up. He said, oh, here's Tonga Islands, that's where I went. Here is Tonga, who wants to go there? It's somewhere down there, under there. And then I just raised up my hand. And I thought, well, I was wanting to Vietnam, but I had completely forgotten about Vietnam and just wanted to go to that country. And I had always an affinity for Pacific Island countries. Even when I grew up, I loved the music, like all of us like it, I guess. So yeah, so I went to Tonga, and totally the opposite. Vietnam fell maybe just a couple of weeks later. So there wasn't even the option to go there, I think. But yeah, that's what I thought in my fantasy. Oh, Vietnam, a communist country and all these things there. But then I went to a completely opposite country, Tonga. Quiet, people so nice, peaceful, everything. And yeah, I had actually the deepest experiences with God I had in Tonga. Because I was so young and I very inexperienced, didn't know much. Yes, we heard about God in lectures, but the reality of God is really when you're by yourself. And I was so young, I had no, whom else could I ask? I was the first one there, the first 2 weeks before Kelsey came. And so yeah, I had the deepest relationship with God in Tonga, in my when I was so young. And still now I think back often and say, I wish I had that relationship with God again. Just very, I would just go there. I would just always think and pray and ask for what shall I do? What shall I do? And things like that. So it was very precious. It is still so precious up till now. And yeah, I mean, also the Fiji Islands later on. Islands is my thing, and Bolivia for what? I was in Bolivia when Causa started. That was very fortunate, I feel. And when Antonio came and John Wells and Bill Selig, I don't know if he's here today, but they came with Causa from Argentina, and I thought it was very special to see them starting it. Yeah, I just happened to be there. I was lucky to be there, I think. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eleanor. Yeah, the missionaries were on call for Father. I remember when the Soviet Union opened up, Father called people from all their missions around the world and had them go to places in Russia. It was amazing. It was like Father's task force. He could rely on them to go anywhere and to represent true parents. Thank you very much, all of you. It's great we could hear your stories. Also, Gloria, get your hand up. Yeah, you're muted.
I wanted to say that Sachiko and David Sato also were missionaries, as I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say really briefly that when True Father, when we came back from mission in America, Father spoke to us like for, I don't know, 15 or 20 hours. I can never forget that. And I'm trying to remember what he said. He said, I think the most important thing I remember he said was, if you didn't fall, you were victorious. Hallelujah.
Congratulations. So Sachiko, you were a missionary? Please share, if anybody.
Actually, it was my husband who was the missionary. He went out to Singapore, and then we went to Djibouti later. But I joined him later, and then we had our children were born in our country, so we came back with children. So but our mission countries were, the one in Djibouti, we were the only ones there, and it was very difficult because they spoke French, and it was a Muslim country, so we had to. There wasn't any persecution. It wasn't any persecution. My husband actually had a job, and so we lived we lived there. With that kind of situation, it wasn't so difficult. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, everyone. Oh, Shirley. Yes. You're muted, Shirley.
Good morning, everyone. I was not a missionary myself, but if I could have Hiromi Yamamoto's permission to relate the story she told me in my breakout room about the Japanese brother who was murdered, I believe she said in Zambia. And I had to listen carefully.
Actually,
yes.
Yeah, Tanzania.
Tanzania.
Thank you, Hiromi. It's okay, I'm telling this, okay. And he was murdered. Father really tried to take care of his wife, but the brother who was murdered would come to his wife and say, please accept another blessing. And she wouldn't. She received 2 babies. And when the daughter grew up, she wanted an African blessing, and she was granted that. And I hope that I relayed the story, in essence.
You surely. Thanks, Mrs. Yamamoto. Oh man, makes you want to cry, right? We're such beautiful people, such amazing hearts and stories. Wow. We got to get that out there and we can change this world. You really can. Wow. Well, thank you, everyone. Time to close things up. I'd like to ask Monica Kellett to offer a closing prayer, please.
Thank you. Oh, beloved Heavenly Parent, thank you so very much for your love. It's so amazing how our true parents, their whole life has been a life of sacrifice and devotion. And when we look at our lives, we have also gone through some hardships, but compared to their hardships, really, it's so little. We're so grateful to our true parents who have been leading our movement, and now our true mother is really standing on the front line, really giving everything, giving herself. We pray that each and every one can decide in our hearts to truly be committed. We really want to set a really wonderful example for our second and third generation. We really pray we can be really committed wholeheartedly and really pour out our energy and our heart, Father, in everything that we do every day. There's always opportunity to witness, always a chance, Father, to share your love. Bring joy to you, bring joy to each other. I pray that we can really be mindful about everything that we do and really go forward, Father, as your heavenly true sons and daughters. We thank you from the bottom of our heart. I pray this sincerely in the name of Michael and Monica Kellett, blessed and true family. Adieu.
Adieu.
All right, thank you, everyone. We're all missionaries. Let's go out today and do it. Parents, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, missionaries.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Reverend
you,
Christian.
Monica. Goodbye.
Thank
Till
you, everyone.
tomorrow.
Thank you, Monica.
Yes.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you.